All right. Can I kindly request everyone to say sadhu to start the session, please?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Katang bhavitani cha kundaliya tini sucharitani. Katang bahuli katani chattaro satipattane paripurenti. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends in the Dhamma, again we are taking the same discourse, the Kundaliya discourse for our Tuesday session, which we are holding on a weekly basis. The topic we have been discussing for some time and come quite a long way. If I may give you a bit of a background once again to summarize what we have discussed so far. This particular person, Kundaliya, after whom the discourse is named, is a wanderer. He goes from monastery to monastery, park to park, and just earn his living from begging, as monks do. He's not a monk, but he's just a wanderer, renounced his lay life, and listening to the talks by various people. And the summary of what he has listened are twofold, and some are saying they uphold the winning the debates, and the others are saying debating is not something that can be recommended, and they condemn such debates. And is asking why the Blessed One is living the life he is living, celibate life. Then he says, Blessed One says, for the benefit and fruit of true knowledge and liberation. And this was a bit of a shocking answer for Kundaliya. And he is asking immediately what we have got to do to cultivate and develop so-called benefit and fruit. And then the Blessed One says, we will have to cultivate and develop the 7 factors of enlightenment. And then he's asking what things to be done to cultivate the 7 factors of enlightenment. Then the Buddha's answer is that we will have to cultivate and develop, or develop and cultivate rather, the 4 foundations or 4 establishments of mindfulness. Then he's asking what things to be done to develop and cultivate the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Then he says the 3 good conducts. Then once it is mentioned the 3 good conduct, and he's asking what has to be done to get there, to develop and cultivate that. Then he says restraint of the sense faculties. And after that, Buddha is not letting him ask what needs to be done, and then he is saying how it has to be developed. He says, when there is an agreeable sense involvement with an internal and external sense objects, then you should not long for it, should not get excited, should not generate lust. And then similarly, if it is disagreeable, sight, sound, aroma, contact, taste, and the mental object, then you should not get dismayed by it, not daunted by it, not dejected by it, should not be with ill will. When that happens, his body is steady and mind is steady, inwardly well composed and well liberated from those sense objects. So this gives bit of a hint that you will have to be very alert when things are happening. So we have discussed in the past how such alertness comes into the equation when we meet with sense objects, external sense objects. When external sense objects are in contact with the internal sense faculties, sense field, what ignition will happen and how such ignitions can be monitored, can be kept at bay was discussed in the previous sessions, and how mindfulness gets involved there and what sort of support we get from mindfulness we discussed earlier. Now, when the sense faculties are monitored in this manner, he says our conduct becomes better because we are able to see our own falls and defaults. And then you identify your own bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct. And just by identifying that, you get an opportunity to convert them into good bodily, verbal, and mental conducts. And we know the examples of them, such as instead of killing, we can freeing. Instead of stealing, we can donate, so on and so forth. Misconduct can be replaced with the good conduct. When you are alert about your sense faculties, you can become a better person. And when this happens, your morality, your ethics will be fairly steady. And when your ethics are fairly steady, Buddha says, someone who is practicing or someone who has renounced the lay life, a person like Kundaliya, you can go to the next stage, which is Sila Visuddhi Avadeva Chitta Visuddhatta, which means purification of virtue, which is bodily and verbal conduct. Purification of bodily, verbal, physical, and verbal conduct will lead to the purification of the mind. That is the meaning of Sila Visuddhi Avadeva Chitta Visuddhatta. So, in that manner, when you keep on practicing your mind development, purification of the mind, the tool that the Blessed One is recommending is the mindfulness. And that is what we have been using to monitor our sense faculties. And that is how you became a good person, avoiding misconducts, and in place introducing the good conduct. That is all that happens because of your alertness, because of your vigilance, which we call mindfulness. So he gets more and more involved with living in the present moment, more and more involved with being aware of what is going on. So when you become aware of what is going on, the four foundations of mindfulness comes into the picture, which again we have discussed basics of it in detail. But let me directly go to the four foundations. The first foundation is being mindful of the body, and that is what we practice. When we practice, try to be mindful of our walking, try to be mindful of our sitting. In that manner, the mind that has been wandering around the universe comes to the body. So when it comes to the body, it becomes being mindful of the body. So there are 14 ways that the Blessed One has given how you can be mindful of the body, namely breathing mindfulness, and mindfulness on the postures, mindfulness on the semi-postures or the continuing mindfulness, or you call it clear comprehension or the full awareness, and then the element mindfulness, and then the foulness of the body, and the 9 contemplations of the cemetery contemplation are the 14 ways that you can be mindful of the body. And again, we have dwelled into details of these contemplations as well as awareness. And in bodily mindfulness, there are two, rather not two, 9 plus 1. There are 10 contemplations which you can do, and 4 mindfulness or 4 awarenesses. And we are mainly focusing on the awareness aspect of bodily mindfulness, not the contemplation. Because for contemplation to be done, you require some sort of preparation, or I would say certain conditions would be more conducive to do the contemplation, because these are repulsiveness of the body and the charnel ground contemplations. These things are very high result yielding investments. So when you have high result yielding investments, the risk is also at the same time very high. So therefore, you need a good foundation, you need good preparation, you need good support when you go into those things. So being lay people, it is pretty easy and very effective as well to develop your awareness. So when that is what we have been doing, and that gives very good result. And I'm an example of such practice. So therefore, there is nothing to worry that we are not doing the contemplations. Contemplations are, in fact, not experiential. They are more or less challenging our conditioning of the perceptions. So, but whereas other things are concerned directly experientiable, so there are no direct attack to our perceptions. It will gradually change our perception, which is very effective and long lasting. Once you master your bodily contemplation, the next contemplation is when your attention is in the body, you get to the feelings. If someone is alive and the attention is in the body, there will always have one or the other feelings, right? So last time we discussed the feelings and the significance of feelings. And there are 3 main types of feelings that the Blessed One has explained. As you all know, they are pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling. And we started to talk about how we become mindful of the feeling. And the Blessed One's simple advice is to be aware of them. Just know that such feelings are there. And then in 4 Foundations of Mindfulness discourse, the Blessed One is categorizing these 3 into 2 other main classes. The 2 main classes are worldly feeling and spiritual feelings. So when you have worldly feelings and spiritual feelings, he says, no matter whether it's worldly, no matter whether it's spiritual, you will have to still be aware of it. Pleasant worldly feelings, you should know that it is a pleasant worldly feeling. A pleasant spiritual feeling, you should know that it is a pleasant spiritual feeling. Pleasant worldly feeling means, say for example, you get through an exam, or you find a girlfriend or a boyfriend, right? Or you get married. So those are pleasant worldly feeling. And you get salary at the end of the month or at the end of the fortnight or week. So that's a pleasant worldly feeling. And you simply will have to be aware of that feeling and not get carried away by it, which usually happens if you don't know what mindfulness is. And that is where most of the living beings are in. And similarly, painful feelings, worldly painful feelings are those feelings that you will have, which are not agreeable, which makes you suffer, which makes you painful, which makes you feel sorrow, and those type of feelings are called painful feelings. For example, you hurt while walking, or you didn't get salary on time, or you fall sick, right? Or someone close to you passes away. So those things are painful worldly feelings. So when you have such things, which are again unavoidable, you simply will have to be aware of such feelings, no matter whether it's painful or pleasant. And similarly, neither pleasant nor painful worldly feelings, which means you don't have anything to do and you are pretty bored. You're not practicing as well, but you don't have anything to do. So you just take the phone and watching the Facebook or watching the YouTube, or keep chatting with somebody, or give a call to somebody, or you take a book and read, or you turn on the TV, or you go for a film. Those type of things happen when you don't have anything else to do. So therefore, you can imagine how big is the pleasant, neither pleasant nor unpleasant industry world, and how strong it is. And it has become an industry for those who stupid, so-called clever people. They are making money out of our time, which we don't have any pleasant or unpleasant feeling. So those are worldly feelings, which we discussed in the last session. Today we are going to get on to the other side, spiritual feelings. The spiritual feelings you get by not doing anything. You don't have to do anything for this. But whereas worldly feelings are concerned, you will have to sweat out left, right, center, morning to evening, evening to night, to have worldly pleasant feeling. And for the same reason, it is painful. But whereas spirituality, there is nothing as such. More you don't do things, more pleasant it becomes when it comes to spirituality. And it is free of charge. And no one is asking price for it. No one is taxing that. And but still, it is very unfortunate that people are looking for pleasant feeling in the worldly things, when such a free, abundant, spiritual pleasant feeling is available. And of course, that spiritual pleasant feeling is incomparable to the worldly feeling, because you usually get with a big profit margin. For the pleasant feelings in the worldly sense, you will have to have huge painful investment. And end of the day, painful investment, you are at a loss, because in painful feeling is much more than the pleasant feeling. If you don't take that painful feeling, you will never get the pleasant feeling in the worldly sense. But whereas in spiritual sense, also you have some sort of painful feeling, but that painful feeling is very marginal, very minimal investment compared to the pleasant feeling that you get. So therefore, you have a huge bottom line so far as the pleasant spiritual feelings are concerned. So today I'm going to open up that topic, pleasant spiritual feeling and painful spiritual feeling. So especially, as you all know, the spirituality comes with, if I start from the very basic, it comes with coming out of at least for few minutes, few hours from the sensual world. In other words, from accumulation. In other words, being charitable is the start of the spirituality. So if you give dana, then you gain lot of happiness. And that is why a lot of people, especially Buddhists, they are masters of being charitable. And sometimes they give without eating, without when they give much more than what they eat themselves. They give much more than what they consume themselves. And it has become a very strong involvement or strong activity in the Buddhist world. So why you do that is because you get so much happiness when someone else has consumed what you have given, what you have sacrificed without you consuming it. And therefore, that satisfaction that you get is incomparable to the sacrification you have done. So therefore, there is a pain. You have to spend your money, you have to spend your energy, you have to spend your time, and you have to spend your sometimes other resources if you give other resources as charity. But when you see that someone is using that, then they gain so much of happiness. And you should be able to remember the Jetavanaram when it was built. The Jeta, Prince Jeta, has asked Anathapindika that instead of telling him that I am not going to sell this land, he has told you bring gold and cover the land with gold, then that will be the price of the land. So such a prominent land, which was owned by Jeta, Prince Jeta, and he did not want to say that I'm not going to sell it, but he put it this way. Then what Anathapindika did was, he brought cartloads of gold and laid over the land. And that is how the land was built. And we know how many discourses that have been preached there. And we can imagine the tremendous amount of rapture, tremendous amount of happiness that Anathapindika has received from that action. And so therefore, there is a bit of suffering, but the pain, or rather not the pain, the pleasant feeling that you get, you carry a long way. But whereas the pain that you undergo in the worldly sense, it is continuous, and to get the happiness that you gain does not last even a second. But it's not the case so far as this very basic spirituality feeling is concerned. And if you then go on to the next level of spirituality, which is the observation of the precepts or being virtuous, and there it is even more easier. What happens there is when you become charitable, you will have to spend money, you will have to do things. But whereas when you become virtuous, you don't have to do anything. What you simply do is not doing anything. We say refrain from killing, refrain from stealing, refrain from sexual misconduct. So without doing things, we gain happiness. And if we are able to, we have been killing mosquitoes left, right, center, or killing cockroaches left, right, center, killing animals whenever we see, and we have stopped that. And whenever see them, we just avoid them and go. And you can see the happiness that you gain. Similarly, other precepts as well. So there, it's even easier without doing anything. you will be able to observe. So this is not a precept, but I remember how happy I was when I was able to stop taking meat. When I became a vegetarian, and I thought that I would never ever be able to become a vegetarian because I was such an addict for meat. May it be dried, maybe may it be fresh, sometimes even raw. I have been addicted to meat so much. But gradually, over time, I was able to completely stop it. And that has given, the day I completely stopped it, gave me tremendous amount of happiness that I was able to do it. So, especially those who have been not virtuous, and when they are able to do it, you can't explain that feeling. And when I stopped taking liquor and stopped my smoking, again, something that I thought it will be very difficult, and every now and then I will start and stop. But no, it was just twice. First time it didn't work, and the second time it worked. And then it was tremendous relief. And in that manner, there is, of course, bit of a in becoming virtuous. Not that you are spending your money, therefore there is no pain coming from investing your resources or energy. But now you will have to fight with the urge, and there will have an urge to kill a mosquito. There will have an urge to take few half sheets from the office. There will have an urge to take a call from the office and save your telephone bill. So those things are very tempting. And if you are able to overcome them, and if you don't do them, then you feel that's a pain. That urge is a pain. But if you just jump over the hurdle, then you have a great relief. So the pain that you have in observing precepts is the urge that you will have to fight with. And when you succeed, then that becomes the happiness. And those are the basics of painful and pleasant feelings from spirituality. But if you go to the real practice, the practice of mindfulness, then you have in the practice, when you start your practice, especially beginners, the pain that you have is before doing anything else. When you come and sit in the temple, or you come and you start your practice at home, what happens is your mind becomes a wild monkey. Not just a wild monkey, it becomes crazy wild monkey. And you will never be able to tell or see what you have been doing while walking or what you have been doing while sitting, because this wild monkey, crazy wild monkey, has been playing havoc in your mental process. So you will never be able to bring your attention to or become aware of anything, let alone the breath, or forget about the walking. You completely go disarray. So that's a painful feeling. But one day, if you continuously, irrespective of what it is, when you keep on doing that, with that pain, of course, you will have more pain, but you have some happiness, some satisfaction that I tried something which I have not been doing all this time in my life. So that that sort of positive energy flows through. Even the mind is like a crazy wild monkey. But with that positive energy, even if you can't progress on anything, if you keep on practicing, one day you will be able to bring or see one breath. You will be able to see one placing of the soul. So if you see that, then you feel, although your wild monkey is playing havoc, you have the ability to see one, and that exponentially increase your confidence in the practice. All this time I have not been able to do anything, but now I'm able to see one breath. And then when you keep on practicing, it keeps increasing. And especially when the wild monkey is playing nonsense in our system, the advice of the teachers is to label. So they ask you to label when you're walking, when the right foot is moving. We ask the beginners to label right, 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 right. And when the left is moving, we ask them to label left, 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 left. So that when the activity is happening, we align our verbal activity and hence the mental activity with the physical activity. So when this alignment comes, not only just walking, even in sitting, and when you're observing your breath, and not only walking and sitting, and if you have any disturbance, such as sounds or sights while walking, or smells, or thoughts, or aches and pains, we ask them to label them as well. When you hear a sound, we ask them to label as hearing. And we ask them to label seeing if there is a sight. We ask them to label if there is any aroma, feeling, or aware. And similarly, thoughts. We ask them to label thoughts occurring or just occurring. We ask them to label if they feel pain, feeling, right? So in that manner, when we label whatever the object, your mind gradually aligns with the physical activity or the phenomena that is unfolding in the present moment. So when this alignment happens, the wild monkey gets fairly tame. So when wild monkey is tamed, and you become a bit more happier, you become a bit more contented. So this situation is called the first absorption, first jhana, right? So going into first jhana is not a rocket science. It is a very simple thing. You label the activity that is happening, and with the labeling of the activity, if you become happier and if you become peaceful, then it's a sign of the first jhana. But there is no signpost anywhere saying that it is first jhana. You feel you are blessed. You feel you are blissed. And that is the indication. And what is the so-called painful feeling here? What is the so-called pleasant feeling here is what we are learning, right? So the Blessed One says, for the first jhana in this manner, it says, Vivicheva kamehi, vivicheva akusalehi dhammehi, savitakkang savicharam vivekajam priti sukha. Pratamajjanam upasampajya viharati. The meaning of it is, a mendicant, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unskillful qualities, enters and remains in the first absorption, which has the rapture and bliss born of such seclusion, while placing the mind and keeping it connected It also says with applied and sustained thoughts. So that's the meaning of placing the mind and keeping it connected. So this has three main parts. One is you label. Label means applying thoughts. When you label, you apply your thought to walking, saying right, right, or left, left. If you are breathing in, or out, out, out. That is the applied thought. Sustained thought means, or keeping it connected means, while applying, after initially you keep on applying, and you just bring your attention to the walking or the sitting or the breath or any other disturbance that you may have. In that manner, you bring the attention to that physical phenomena in the present moment. And sustained thoughts or keeping it connected means you grab as much information as possible while placing the mind on the object. When you walk, you don't, initially you say right, 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 left, 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 that's all. But over time, you start seeing how you place the leg. The heel goes first, and the arch area, and then the pillow of the leg, and then the fingers, and then you see it is not just the fingers, and there is a pattern in which the fingers come down as well, and then you see the same thing in the other leg. And when you keep on observing this, and you feel that when one leg is doing something, other leg is also doing something which is exactly opposite to the other leg is doing. So these two legs are functioning in such a magnificent, synchronized manner, which no perfect engineer will be able to engineer. And our systems are working in such a perfect harmony, and you start seeing that. So that is called sustained thought. You get more and more information since you are connected with the object now, since you have placed your mind with what is happening. So this is sort of you labeling, naming, and gathering information. One may feel that it is a painful thing because you will have to do that. You will have to do that. So therefore, that is the painful part in the spiritual practice or the mindful practice. And you will have to simply be aware. You may feel what nonsense this is. I'm just keep all the time observing and all the time labeling. What the heck you may feel. And when such a feeling comes and you have started hating what you are doing, being spiritual, and then you just label that as well. Thoughts occurring. That's simply a thought. So therefore the Blessed One says, if there is a painful feeling, spiritual painful feeling, just be aware of it. So that's what I want to say here. And in the first absorption, this is the so-called painful stage. And then it also becomes painful when it is developing. You can take the attention to the leg and you aren't able to 100% get the information of the leg or of the breath, because that wild monkey is still not really tamed. It sometimes goes on to the, you will start getting thoughts of your sensuality. Sensual thoughts may arise. Sense desire may arise. We call it sense desire. Or ill will thoughts may arise. Or you may have some doubts about the practice. Or you will be more agitated. Or you may feel more worried. So those type of things will happen. So when those things are happening, that is again a pain. So in the first absorption, when those things are happening, you will have to observe them as well. And similarly, if you are, especially when you practice at home, someone may be watching TV, or someone may be playing song aloud, or may not be happening at home, but they will have a big party in the neighbor's house. So you may be disturbed. So sensual pleasures might arise when you hear those things. Although you are walking, you may be dancing as well at the same time while walking. Although you are sitting, your mind may be dancing. So therefore, those disturbances may also be considered as painful so far as the first absorption is concerned. But when it develops, when it improves, when you are able to be more and more with the object through labeling, and if your gathering of information is faster, and if their clarity improves, you rather than observing, you first place the heel, and then you see, you say, then the fingers, then you have lost the connection. You have not seen the rest of the foot. But instead of that, if you observe the way I said earlier, you see the heel is being placed, then the arch area, then the pillow of the leg, then the fingers, even the fingers come in a particular pattern. And you see the same thing in the other leg. And you also not only see the placing, you also observe the lifting. And not only lifting, you also observe when the leg is in the air. You also observe the lowering down of the leg. And not only how it is done, you also feel the sensation when this placing, lifting, moving, and lowering down is happening. Then you are constantly involved with it. So when you are constantly involved with it, you are secluded completely from sensual pleasures. You are completely secluded from unskillful qualities, which I just mentioned, the sensual desires, ill will, so on and so forth. So then the very same thing that was a pain, when you get more and more involved and your thoughts are being sustained with the object, which means gathering information, you become more and more secluded. That seclusion is a profit now. That seclusion, you feel there are no frictions from the sensual world. Therefore, you feel more and more happy. The Blessed One calls it rapture and the bliss born of seclusion. We call it Viveka Jampiti Sukham. This is the Viveka. This is the holiday. Now, when we go on holidays, we go on holidays for sensual pleasure. But so far as the Blessed One is concerned, his holiday is not going to sensuality, but coming out of sensuality, which you guys can experience while practicing when you are with the object, not just with the object, with whatever is happening when you are mindful, you completely immersed with the present moment, present place of yourself. And that takes away a lot of frictions that you would otherwise have generated through the sensual pleasures and the unskillful qualities. And that gives you tremendous amount of holidaying to our own mind and body. When we go on holiday, we hack them. We murder our body, we murder our mind. But in this manner, we give tremendous amount of freedom to our mind and the body. So therefore, Blessed One calls it rapture and bliss born of seclusion. Bliss is generally felt through the body, and the rapture is also felt through the body, but it's a generation of the mind. Mind generates rapture. So in this manner, that becomes a huge profit. You have a bit of pain, and you at the same time you have very pleasant feeling after some time. So then you may start feeling, why didn't I start this earlier? So you try to you start understanding that this is what you have been looking for. So that becomes a pleasant feeling. The point I want to stress is not what is pleasant and what is painful. The blessed one's advice is, if it is a pleasant feeling, don't get bogged down in it. That is what happens all the time. That is definitely what happened before the Buddha. His advice is, you go to rapture, you go to bliss, keep reminding you every now and then that you are aware of it. And you keep reminding yourself that you are in rapture, that you are in bliss, then that rapture and bliss will not be able to overwhelm you. Otherwise, that will overwhelm you. And of course, when the painful feeling, you may be aware. Don't even that. The blessed one says, don't hate. Don't hate the labeling. It is an energy. It consumes energy. Although it consumes energy, don't hate it. The hateful feelings might arise. He says, just be aware that you are labeling. Just be aware that you are gathering information. Although it is troublesome, although you feel that it is nonsense. So that is the advice. That is the take-home message. Whether in the practice there will have something that makes you unhappy, be aware. And from the practice, there is a tremendous amount of rapture and pleasure. Be aware. That key should not be forgotten anywhere. That should not be thrown away anywhere. That should not be dropped anywhere. So if you lose that key, then you will not go with Buddha. You will go with the teachers before Buddha. Because they had lost that key of awareness. They keep the awareness for some time, but once the rapture comes, and depending on the level of their craving, they get bogged down in it, and they say it is me, and they say it is permanent. I just happily, without eating, without drinking, just keep their legs crossed. And even we people think sitting long time is the progress of the practice. In a way, yes, but not 100%. It depends on what mentality that he has about the rapture and the bliss when he comes out of the practice, and what he says is more important. Then we can see whether he is overwhelmed and he is caught by that pleasure, or whether he has been aware of it. So this is the pain and the or pain and the pleasant feeling of the first absorption. So when it comes to the second absorption, the blessed one says, Vitakka vicharanang upasama ajjattam samsasadanang chetaso ekodi bhavang avitakkam avicharang samadhijang pitisukang dutiyang dhyanang upasampajya viharati. The translation of which is, as the placing of the mind and the place, keeping it connected, which means applied and sustained thoughts, are stilled. They enter and remain in the second absorption, which has the rapture and bliss born of immersion with internal clarity and mind at one, without placing the mind and keeping it connected. So here, also we have two sides. On one side, there is a painful feeling. On the other side, there is a pleasant feeling. The painful feeling here is placing of the mind and keeping it connected are stilled. In the first absorption, we were using the applied and sustained thoughts to bring the attention to the body. We were labeling and we were gathering information. So over time, when you keep on doing that, and over time, as I mentioned even earlier, when your rapture matures, when your rapture increases, when your bliss increases, you start feeling that labeling is a nonsense, because you will have to always keep labeling, and therefore it really become a nuisance at one stage, not at one stage when the first absorption really is at its peak. So then it becomes a pain. When first absorption is maturing, labeling and gathering information becomes a headache, becomes a painful thing. Now it is not the painful thing that we usually know. It is something arising out of the practice. Other painful feeling that we know is our sense faculties are involved, people are involved, office is involved, wife is involved, husband is involved, parents are involved, kids are involved. Not that. Here it is out of the practice itself. This applied and sustained thought, so the placing the mind and keeping it connected itself is a headache now. And therefore, that becomes a painful thing. And when that painful thing is understood, the Blessed One says is become aware of it. When you become aware of it, you don't hate that exertion of energy. You don't hate that investment of energy. You don't hate that consumption of energy. So when you don't hate it, when you don't hate the hatred, it gradually subsides. It gradually slows down. So therefore, you may, because you are not getting involved with hatred, you gradually try to stop labeling. And you labeled all the time, right, left, in, out, hearing, seeing, and all that. But now you very slowly, if you want, you do it. Otherwise, you just let things go. And then it will come to a point over time, you take it off the hook. So when you take it off the hook, it completely stops. It completely still. Naming and gathering information stops. When that stops, your energy is more and more preserved. When your energy is more and more preserved and your attention is now completely with the body, just because you stop, it does not go everywhere, because you had taken so much of information and you are with the functioning of the body. You are with the functioning of the leg, and you have seen that the leg is moving like a wheel, and your attention is in that wheel all the time, so it does not go out. So and since you are not labeling, you can energize yourself more to see this functioning of the wheel. Similarly, the observation of the breath, and it is a continuous thing that is happening, and by observing it, your mind will completely get immersed with the function of the body, and you will be completely feeling the body. So either walking or sitting, you will be with the body and no labeling. So therefore, the Blessed One says you will be immersed in rapture and bliss, and that with internal clarity, your attention will be introvert, completely inside, completely inward, and clarity of it will be very high. And because of that, your rapture will be 10 times higher, or 100 times higher, 1,000 times higher than in the first absorption. And that is called Samadhi Jang Piti Sukha. That is the word mentioned here. Vitakka vicharanang upasama ajjatang samprasadanang chetaso ekodibhavang avitakang avicharang samajidang piti sukha. Earlier, it's the same thing we have. Earlier we had rapture and bliss, but that is born of seclusion. So it's viveka jampiti sukha. But here that Vivekajam Priti Sukham has matured into a stage to take that seclusion completely into the body. So therefore it becomes one pointed, and internal clarity is improved, and therefore since the internal clarity is improving with rapture and bliss, then it is called Samadhi Jampiti Sukham. It says Ekodi Bhava. You feel like just one. Everything is just one. And so much of rapture and bliss has matured. So here, therefore, the pain is gradual depreciation of, gradual stilling of the applied and sustained thought. And the pleasant feeling is the samadhi jampiti sukham, the immersion of the rapture and the pleasure, rapture and the bliss. So again, we will have to be mindful, no matter whether it is improved rapture and bliss, or stilling, or stopping, or gradually fading away of applied and sustained thoughts. So some people may not like to stop applied and sustained thoughts because they think that they will lose the connection with the object. So then it becomes more pain. So when that happens, you will have to simply be aware. That is a spiritual painful feeling. And similarly, the profit that you have, which is the rapture and pleasure, you will have to be aware of it. So this is how these are just two things that I have brought out to show the painful and pleasant feeling in the spiritual practice. I'm sure most of you are able to relate to what I'm talking, and you can see these things in your own practice. And we are so fortunate that a person like Buddha has come into the world and given such clarity to the practice. A lot of people are practicing, but we are so fortunate to see how this machine works. So therefore, your investment of time in this is not just meditation. This is the highest thing that any human being can do, so which you are involved in. And you should be very humble and humbly proud of what you are doing, because it is something that 99.9% of the human beings alone can't do. So blessings of the triple gem. To conclude the session, we will continue the other four absorptions, if time permits, even beyond that, in the next sessions to come in the future. Peruan Saranai.
Everyone, so no.
All right. Any comments, questions relating to the talk or practice?
Yeah, I've got something, Bante. Feels like I've been a bit of a wild monkey the last couple of weeks, to be honest. So I sold my car a couple of weeks ago, and I bought a push bike just to get to and from work. And what's happened is basically I haven't stopped totally meditation, but I've like quite considerably dropped my meditation quite a lot. I'm only sort of doing it 2 or 3 times a week when I was doing it 2 or 3 times a day. I'm finding it difficult. It seems like an excuse, but time is really against me lately, because now my commute to work is an extra hour there, an extra hour back, just, with a push bike and everything. It seems like an excuse, but it's just also work's been super busy. That's one thing. And the other thing is, I think my mind's like being evil, because it's sort of like I've done a couple of things that I'm not really proud of. Like I've been drinking coffee at work again. I hadn't I hadn't had coffee for about 3 or 4 months, and the last couple of weeks, as soon as I sold my car, I started drinking coffee. I'm starting to eat after midday, which I haven't done for, quite a few months. And I just, I think I don't know if it's because, if it's an energy thing, because I'm consuming more energy or burning more energy, but I've been eating after midday. I also ate a ham and cheese croissant, so I ate meat as well. It just kind of feels like, you know, my mind's just been against me the last couple of weeks, and I've kind of been saying to myself, "Oh, don't worry, Steve, just wait until the 1st of December and then you can get back into it again." And it's like, I just don't know what's going on. Like my mind just, it seems like it's playing tricks on me. It's being deceiving.
Yeah.
Is that to do with me stopping my meditation and it's starting to play up a bit, or can you give me
No,
some?
it's mainly forgetting what mindfulness is. If you remember what mindfulness is, no matter what happens, whether it's good or bad, you will have to simply be aware of it. If you
I'm definitely aware of it, Bante.
Yeah,
It's
you
kind
don't
of
appreciate it.
frustrating. Yeah, it's very frustrating. It's just that time's against me. Like I'm sort of leaving work. I'm leaving work in the morning at like, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm not getting home till like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
No,
So I've just,
if I may stop you,
yeah,
uh,
please.
you said you are mindful and you are aware. What are you aware of?
I'm aware that I'm being naughty. I'm doing things that I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, you will have to be aware of that frustration when it really trying to take over you.
Yeah.
So that frustration is what you will have to accept. There will have huge amount of conceptualization going in your mind. So let that conceptualization go, which creates a frustration. And you observe the movie, you watch the movie. Right now, it appears to me that you are a bit trying to, fight with it. So
Mm,
it is not definitely although you are aware, that is why you can say it. You are not aware of the result that is coming out of that thought process. The result of that thought process is the frustration, and you will have to accept. You will have to label that frustration. Yes, I am frustrated. So what?
mm,
That way you will have to face it head on. Accept your own frustration. Instead, the mind is trying to suggest you have become a naughty boy and you were such a wonderful kid earlier. Now what's happening to you? And that is exactly what the mind wants, for us to be unhappy. So we also become unhappy. Blessed One says, when you become unhappy, this is exactly what we discussed today. When you become unhappy, you be aware that I am unhappy. Don't fight with it. When we fight with it, it will create more, more nutrition for the unhappiness to increase. So being mindful alone won't do. You will have to be mindful of the fact that you are mindful as well.
yeah.
And then from both the sides, there are engines. Mindful is there on one hand. On the other hand, like a train going on the hill country, there is one engine pulling, one engine pushing.
Mm,
So now this train is also going up the hill. So you are mindful, and from the behind also you see the result and become mindful of that as well. Then it is not sati, it becomes sati sampajanya. So it is, from my perspective, there is bit of uh, what do you call, keeping the mindfulness aside, or forgetting the mindfulness has created this situation. And it is not a mistake as well. This must happen. Otherwise, you don't understand that the mind is a creature of this nature. So now you,
yeah.
since it happens to you, it is not a story, it's not a sermon. It is an experience for you. So now you can try that. How I can be mindful there. That's one thing. And the other thing is there is something called sappaya sampajanya. When your practice is going well, you should not change the conditions drastically. Now here you have changed your conditions drastically, and therefore that smooth practice has been disturbed. So those are things that we will have to be careful. You know, it makes you more tired. It takes long time, and it has directly affected the practice. But now it has happened. So what we will have to do is we will have to manage with whatever we have now. So what I would suggest is when you come from work, don't do the walking practice. Just do the sitting practice. If you have done 1 hour earlier, try to do half an hour. And if you have done half an hour earlier, try to do 15 minutes. And in that manner, you can gather the momentum. Since when you cycle, try to be mindful of the leg movements and convert that into your walking. And then come home and take a shower and gradually quietly sit. And then it will start once again pick up. As you say, it will pick up again soon. That mental alignment has to come with the change in the circumstances. Blessings.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. So just sort of, if anything, just adjust it and sort of pull back a bit, and instead of doing, 45 to an hour, because obviously time's an issue, just go back to doing 15 because, it's
15,
obviously
20.
better than doing none at all.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you do 15, 20, if you start with 15, 20, 100% sure it picks up once again to 45.
Yeah. That's everyone so thank you, Bhante.
Everyone, Sarana, it looks like these guys have left. So it should be already 9:30 or close to 10. Right. So if we don't have any other things to discuss, we can conclude the session.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Everyone, Saranai.
I sent you a message as well on WhatsApp.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, when you were talking to me earlier, I didn't really get, because I was like doing work, like study work from stuff from work, and then I did meditation, and I thought, oh, that's what Bhante was talking about. But yeah, as long as you got the message.
Yeah, I got it. All right.
All right. I'll
Everyone,
see you soon.
see
Thank
you.
you, Bhante. Bye.
Saranai.